What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Dylan back here for another video, and today I'm starting off a brand new series. I got the inspiration for this video from CaineLovesCali. Go check him out on YouTube. He does basketball related content, makes a whole bunch of different topic videos and whatnot. But one of my favorite series from him was looking over a bunch of NBA players' careers and determining what the best season of their entire career was. He's done it on LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and my personal favorite one in the series, Kobe Bryant. So I wanted to do that with NFL players. There are a bunch of veteran players in the league right now that have had some pretty great seasons, and it's hard to determine what the #1 season was. So I'm going to go over a bunch of different players over the course of this series. Today, I'm starting off with Dez Bryant. Mitch gave me the idea for this one. It's a good one because Dez Bryant, he just got released from the Cowboys a little over a month ago and is going to start a new career somewhere else. So it's fitting to look over his Dallas Cowboys career and determine what the best season of his entire career was. I've picked 3 in particular. We're going to go over each of the 3 seasons, the stats, his best games, his worst games, and determine which season was the best Dez we have seen in the league. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first season I'm going to talk about is the 2012 season. This is the breakout year for Dez Bryant, and it showed that he could be a up-and-coming receiver and a talented top-tier receiver for years to come. In the season, he had 92 receptions for 1,382 yards, which is his career high, and had 12 touchdowns. He was playing for the Dallas Cowboys, who had an 8-8 record this season. His best games include Week 6 against the Ravens, where he had 13 receptions, which is his career high for a game, 95 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 29-31 loss. Week 11 against the Browns, where he had 12 receptions, which is his second most, for 145 yards and a touchdown in a win, a 23-20 win. Week 12, where he had 8 receptions, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 31-38 loss against the Redskins. Week 13, where he had 6 receptions, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a win over the Eagles, 38-33. And Week 16, where he had 9 receptions for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a 31-34 loss against the Saints. His worst games of the season included Week 2, where he had 3 receptions for 17 yards in a 7-27 loss over the Seattle Seahawks. Week 7, where he had 2 receptions and 14 yards in a win over the Panthers. And Week 9, where he had 1 reception and 15 yards in a loss, 13-19 against the Falcons. So as you can tell from the game logs that I just mentioned, Dez Bryant had some pretty good games this season. He had 2 of his most productive games of his entire career in terms of receptions was 13 and 12. He had 3 games where he had over 145 yards, 145 on 2 occasions, and then 224 in Week 16. And 4 of the 5 of the best games that he had all season had games where he had 2 touchdowns in. So that's pretty productive. But there was also weeks where he would be very inconsistent. 3 receptions for 17 yards, 2 receptions for 14 yards, 1 reception for 15 yards. That's not very good production. That's not something you would want to see. However, this was the year that Dez was coming into his own and making himself a credible receiver for years to come. And you got to see some glimpses of hope within the Cowboys organization based on how Dez played. He was a great outside threat. That's somebody that Tony Romo could throw to on the outside and be productive with, and I know Tony Romo loves to have a good outside threat. He could come over the middle and make some really impressive first down catches, as shown by the diving catch with the Bears. You could really see some of the glimpses of hope for the Cowboys organization in Dez Bryant's 2012 season. I really like what I saw. A couple of disappointing games, and it lost them a couple of ones as well, but seeing Dez Bryant's production over the course of this season really gave Cowboys fans hope. So I really like what I saw of the 2012 season. It'll be interesting to see how it ranks with 2013 and 2014. Alright, so now we're on to the 2013 season. This season, Dez Bryant had 93 receptions, which is his career high, 1,233 yards, and 13 touchdowns. He made his first Pro Bowl this season, and the Dallas Cowboys again went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. His best games this year included Week 2 with 9 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown in a 16-17 loss over the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 4, where he had 6 receptions, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a 21-30 loss over the San Diego Chargers. Week 5, where he had 6 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a 48-51 loss against the Broncos, one of the most high-scoring games in NFL history. Week 8, where he had 3 receptions, 72 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a 30-31 loss over the Lions. And Week 15, where he had 11 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown, and a 36-37 loss against the Packers. His worst games of the season: Week 1, where he had 4 receptions for 22 yards and a win over the Giants 36-31. Week 6, where he had 5 receptions, 36 yards, and a win over the Redskins 31-16. Week 10, where he had 1 reception for 44 yards and a stunning 49-17 loss against the Saints. And Week 14, where he had 2 receptions for 12 yards and 1 touchdown and a 28-45 loss against the Packers. Dez Bryant in 2013 was improving from some of the mistakes that he had in 2012. He wasn't fumbling nearly as much. He had his career high in fumbles with 5 in 2012, so that was kind of a concern going into 2013, but he was able to take that mistake away and be more productive. However, what's really interesting about this Pro Bowl season is that each of the 5 games that I mentioned in his best games catalog this year were all losses. Even the most productive stats that Dez Bryant gave this season all were losses, which that's more kind of a thing to the team as a whole and not just to Dez Bryant. But when he was putting out the best work of his entire career, they still weren't able to get it done, which kind of hurts the level of, hey, was this his best season or not? I like this season in particular because he was a good threat in the red zone, really love the red zone efficiency, and he could make some really deep plays, as he did in 2012, but I think he made even more strides in making an even better effort to do it in 2013. However, the win production just isn't there, and it's kind of weird to say that, considering he scored a lot of touchdowns. 13 touchdowns, that's pretty good, but it does kind of hurt him in terms of the best season. Now we're here to the 2014 season. He had 88 receptions, which is ironic considering his jersey number, 1,320 yards, and 16 touchdowns. That's an average of course, 1 per game. He had a very good touchdown rate this season. It is his career high, and it's near the top of the leaderboard in all-time touchdowns in a regular season. He made the Pro Bowl this year once again, and first team All-Pro, which he had never done before and has not done since. His best games in 2014, Week 2, 10 receptions, 103 yards, and 1 touchdown in a 26-10 win over the Tennessee Titans. Week 7, 9 receptions, 151 yards, and a win over the Giants. Week 10, 6 receptions, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a 31-17 win over the Jaguars. Week 12, 7 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and another close victory against the Giants. Week 15, listen to this one, 6 receptions, 114 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and a win against the Eagles. And Week 17 with 4 receptions, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the Redskins in a blowout. The worst games of this season are actually pretty interesting for one thing in particular, okay? Week 1, not very productive, 4 receptions, 55 yards, and a loss against the 49ers. Week 8, 3 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown, and a loss against the Redskins. And Week 9, 2 receptions, 15 yards, and a touchdown, and a loss against the Cardinals. 2 of the 3 worst games he had, he still caught a touchdown. He still scored 7 points out of the 17 that they scored in the game, so I find that pretty interesting. This season in particular, Dez Bryant was on fire. No defense could stop Dez Bryant. It wasn't his leading season in terms of receptions. In fact, of the 3 that I talked about, it's the least that he had. But he was so productive. You need less receptions if you can get in the end zone more often. Dez Bryant was getting in the end zone with such a high efficiency rate, it was insane. 16 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And for a guy like Tony Romo, who's going to throw the ball a lot more and be effective with it, he loves to have a great deep threat, like I said earlier in the video. And a guy like Dez in this season, man, you know Romo was foaming at the mouth at this. This is also the season that we saw Romo really come into his own and be the quarterback that people were wanting him to be. We always made fun of him, but this season in particular, he was doing very, very well. It was probably his best season of his entire career, and he gave it off to DeMarco Murray. This team was a lot more complete, so having Dez Bryant not be the one to hold down the team, just being a very big focal point, was a great thing for the Cowboys organization. And he was extremely effective all the way around, like just making those great touchdown catches, putting in effort every single catch for some of the hardest caught balls of the entire season. Some really, really good catches from Dez in the 2014 season. It's a very memorable season because the Cowboys were 12-4 this year. The last two seasons that I talked about, the Cowboys were both 8-8. So it was like he was trying to hold the team together and try to do something when the team wasn't very good. But in 2014, they were 12-4. And considering that every single game except one that I talked about in both the best and the worst category, he scored a touchdown, I gotta say, it's a pretty damn good season. And considering the Cowboys were favorites and they did very well, they got to the divisional round, Dez Bryant was a big factor in the success of the Cowboys in 2014 based on the production in the end zone and having some really good highlight catches. 2014, a really good season. Now that you have heard all of the stats, it's time to determine which season was the best season of Dez Bryant's career. And the winner is the 2014 season. Now, the 2012 and 2013 seasons were very productive. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them in a few minutes. However, I had to go with 2014. It's the best season of his career. Here's a few reasons why. First off, this is the first and only time of his entire career that he made first-team All-Pro. It's a pretty good indication this was his best season. But there's more. He had 16 touchdowns this season. That's an average of, course, one per game. And that's extremely effective. I mean, look at the overall touchdown record holders within a season. 16's pretty high up there. He's tied with a couple of guys, but that's pretty productive, all things considered. If you're going to rely on a guy in the red zone and make a really good touchdown to give you guys the lead, Dez Bryant was pretty reliable in 2014. He had a game in this season where he had 3 touchdowns. I really want to see that. I really would want that if he's on my team, and he was on my team. Third, even though he didn't have his overall career high in receptions and yards, he was extremely lighting up defenses. Like, they were focused on trying to stop Dez Bryant, and surprisingly, they couldn't do it. They were trying to do this 2-on-1 stuff, but he was able to create separation, and especially in this season, you could see the defenses were trying to get smarter with it, but they just weren't able to do it. It was impossible. The separation that Dez Bryant would create from one play to the next was absolutely spectacular, and Tony Romo, who was getting even better, was making the right decisions, especially in the 2014 season. The 2012 and 13 seasons for Tony Romo were not very good, 2 8-8 seasons, but with the help of a 12-4 record, this team was so much better than the 2012 and 2013 seasons. I mean, look at the last 2 seasons before this, and you're going to see some pretty interesting stats. The fact that he had his career high in yards in 2012 and his career high in receptions in 2013, both seasons have some pretty good things to look at and say, maybe this could be his best season. But considering how explosive Dez was in 2014 and leading that team to a playoff run, it's got to be 2014. There are some considerations and, some honorable mentions here, as these were 2 pretty good seasons in their own rights. But for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, 2014 was Dez Bryant's best season. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 1 of this brand new series. I don't exactly know the title as I'm recording, but you guys will see the title later on. If you guys enjoyed, like the video, comment below, who should I do this series on next? I have a lot of people in mind, but I don't have anybody set in stone as the next episode. So if you guys want to leave some suggestions, I will look at the comments section, and maybe it will be in the next episode. We'll see. Subscribe for more NFL content. We just started this new series with the Madden GM stuff between myself, AC, and Mitch. Really loving what we're doing with that, and I got a good team. I got a really good team, I think, and it's going to be a lot of fun to go against those guys. So check out that series. Check out more NFL content coming out soon. A lot of things coming on the way for the Bottom Line View, so stick around, subscribe, turn on that notifications bell. That is an important thing. Anytime you want to see new videos from us, you'll get it instantly with that notification bell. So hit that bell to get the latest on the Bottom Line View. So thank you guys for watching. For Dylan, peace out.